I've been trying to make this kind of video for a while. I've seen it on, YouTube. I've seen streamers, and I think the biggest thing is I just really want to play this game. And I'm trying to rationalize and circle back through the many things I do and want. And I'd like to think I have a full understanding of reality and an understanding of how the mind's kind of warped through, I would say, like a high dopaminergic need. Diagnosed young from a doctor, official licensed one, of ADHD and unmedicated, which I'm glad for, from a decision from my father. There's been pros and cons, and as they've warned as an adult, it's very difficult. And I'd like to think that I've done a lot of hard work and research and due diligence to make those things easier. I just think we're in a new environment, and I've seen a lot of YouTubers, they call them rants or stream of consciousnesses, or I call this a stream of consciousness with emphasis on the stream as I try to play. But I do hope to make this into long form content as I type stream instead of superior. I don't know, I've got a girlfriend, happy with things, education, good family, all these things, and it's not like I don't have passion or enjoy friends and all that. It's just there's something about this game, and I can go long-winded about how I used to use a lot of the ganja, right? And I'm back on it now, but essentially when I had to stop using it for job searches, RuneScape made quitting so easy. It just takes over my mind, and then it takes over as the next addiction, right? And that's kind of one of the major parts I wanted to talk about in whatever this is, or it's just a stream of consciousness journal, or if it turns into YouTube or something. It's just how many connections there is to life in this game, and coming off someone who paid for a lot of microtransactions and a lot of RPGs that just didn't really have that long-term investment because of fleeting, rewards from initial time spent and trying to do new things every year, which worries me a little bit about this game today. But nonetheless, it's just pushing a lot of content very quickly. That's my cat. Hi, Samba. Come here, buddy. So I was worried about, being nervous. I've had so many, this will be a small tangent, so many little, things in my head that are like, oh, let me do this first, from hitting a bowl or getting a coffee to eating to cat to, what I call is like when you're trying to do something good, sometimes maybe the quote unquote proverbial devil is not making it easy, right? So, if I'm supposed to make this video, maybe something, or there's various elements that are making it challenging. It seems like every time I'm about to start, there's one more thing. And right when I finally get in the flow, right, I'm so worried about speaking just to myself alone, not even someone to judge, because I think when someone watches it, you have to kind of live up to the moment. But when you're on your own, there's no one to encourage you. And I think that's kind of, we'll get to the core of what I'm trying to talk about. And even then, you can hear me trying to monitor my speaking. I think the whole point is try to be authentic and just kind of explain yourself, because I think people want to know your unique story and they look at themselves through your lens. So you have to be as specific and honest and truthful as you can be. But just, there's something about a game that rewards you for playing the game. And sometimes I lose sight of that, especially when I'm trying to fit things in with what I call the cauldron, locking myself into challenges, even though people warn, don't, you'll burn out. But I think the fun of RuneScape is you burn out and then you can take a break until you feel like playing, and there's just nothing quite more intoxicating or potent or something that takes over the mind. Like I'm just crushing Zola runs right now, and I didn't think I'd get to Zola. You've tried things before, and it really reflects life. And even though RuneScape is kind of, I would call it a simulation of life, right, where it's not hard work, but there's a level to it where you have to click things for a long time. I run an Ironman specifically so I can understand the hard work and the value that goes into eating a fish and the boss, so that the boss is more fun and meaningful and adds so much more meaning into the game, and it just makes it such a rewarding experience that I want to go back to. And the fact that I can pause it and come back and everything still means the same, but there's more to eventually explore. Hi, Simba. That's my cat. He's perching up next to me. It's sick. Hey, buddy. It's winter now, so it's a little more cooped up. It's tough. But yeah, you know, just now, since I'm off tangent, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I don't know why. I've always loved watching YouTube. I can't stop playing RuneScape. Even now, you know, I got to get a real job. I'm looking at prices and work and procrastination. I've tried and tried to go cold turkey and play for a few months, and there's just nothing better than getting in, logging in, doing what I call is, you know, hard work, whether it's skilling, adding the meaning, and then finally getting to some bosses and learning and all the Wikipedias and the videos and the entertainment. It's an all-in-one. You know, you can watch videos and learn as you play. You can just play and not watch the video. You know, this isn't a sales pitch, but it's just like, for example, for someone with my mind, you know, for example, a game like this where it can be a full apparatus, it's just amazing. You know, there's nothing else I really want to do, and sometimes it's a blast, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's whatever it is, I'm just drawn to it. You know, I'm a big believer in you're drawn to what you're drawn to, and you kind of can either cold turkey that and kind of like an addiction cycle, or you can make peace with it. So sometimes that takes maturity or self-control, and not everything is easy, right? It's just like anything fun, you have to have responsibilities, but just for something that can take over your mind so thoroughly, it's difficult to play other games. You know, I've learned that it's fun to play other games with friends. You know, I play other games with friends for the friendship environment. You know, I'm still play Fortnite. I think zombies are a little different because I just played that as a kid, and, you know, at a world record with my friend on Doris, you know, the classic map. Probably play some of this or show some of that later. Probably my 2 games will be RuneScape and zombies for the most part. But you know, it's just, I played RuneScape 3, you know, I maxed it out. I never paid money. That's my big thing I learned from mobile apps. I never paid money for microtransactions because that doesn't make the game you're trying to play for fun. It just drains your bank and doesn't make it fun, and life's hell. You know, you learn that with FIFA Ultimate Team. Even trying to compete, the pros have to pay $10,000 just to get a team. Next year it's gone, and you know, everything is fine until next year it's gone. You spend so much effort each year and then it's gone. And it's like, that's kind of the difference with World of Warcraft, right? Where, you know, it might be nice to have set schedules. You know, there's benefits, there's definitely positives, but just all your progress disappears. I remember my friend growing up, he has the #1 blade. It was so hard to get. I couldn't tell if it was a raid or an in-game quest, right? That's when it was more fun, right? Because it's like, ooh, this is more PvE. Instead of just like a endless raid after raid every Tuesday to get this item. It's not everyone could do that, and he was just the best, and he was ranked. And today, you know, he's still a ranked player. I don't talk to him much, but, you know, I have good memories of essentially, you know, the level up process with him. And that's, once it got endgame, you got capped. You know, the thing you played so hard for, you get capped. With RuneScape, you have a constant grind, right, while you're leveling, where you can maybe raid, or in between raids or boss, right, or the dungeons. But then in between you can play, and there's this sense of, you know, you get FOMO because you can always be productive, but for a mind that craves extra dopamine, right? You know, instead of like medication, right? It's like if you fish in the background, that adds extra dopamine. And not only does that add an extra thing, if you're fishing in the background, you have to do a remedial task or work, you know, it changes the brain on what you want to do. Because all of a sudden, if you can, you know, take some coding classes or whatever, edit videos as you fish, you're getting paid to play the game that you know you can't just constantly raid, right? And there's levels to it, you know, not everything's AFK. There's a line between RuneScape 3 that, you know, I think we're close to, that we shouldn't quite cross everything AFK, because the whole point is it can't do it 24/7, and there should be some work into it to understand the latter portions of it, because I'm a fundamentalist with what comes to the game, whereas if you learn to love the early stuff, you see how that's formulated throughout the entire game and built upon, and then it's like, if you remember what it was like to do these things without gear quest items, and then you learn to love it and you may do when that next upgrade or that next quest item or that speed, it's like now this task you hated, you did so much, you learned to love it, and now it's even better. You get like 2 times the dopamine sectors, and then everything's built on until you have an account 3 years later, where somehow, you know, on a lucky drop from Vorkath, you get a fucking bone dragon bone necklace after you just spent years or a year trying to get the crafting level and for the glory, but you know, you used it so much you don't even care. And so that's why I'm gonna grind Zola, and I'd like to make these videos more long form, but I want to make this more of the preamble section, right, just to explain kind of what I'm going for and what I'm doing. So that was more of the RuneScape analysis part, and then I'd like to also have more of just my reflections in life and how I got into this portion, and kind of like the dream people sell and maybe want pulled, and have a very, I would say, you know, non-ignorant discussion and be fully aware of the pros and cons. You know, I'm an adult. I'm 27. Maybe I should have left that a mystery, but it is what it is. Not sure if I'll show my face or not, because in the content I love, sometimes I love the face and sometimes I love the faceless. You know, mystery depends on your books, you know, for example, that you like reading. And yeah, just did my first Zola kill with my ring, with no ring of recoil at the end because I forgot to switch it. So now I'm motivated to get the suffering. You know, even the infinity boots, you know, it's like I remember the BS I had to go through to get that. You know, the same, this guy behind me is freaking me out. The same thing you had to do every single time for an hour just to get one item, and one to get infinity robes, and then to do rune crafting to get blood runes, and then remember seeing blood bark so long ago, then to finally get that up for blood bark, and then to realize that I need one more level for rune crafting, and then I gotta get the stews to boost it. And yeah, it sucks at first, but it's kind of like starting the quests for me. Once I get into it, it's amazing. Then once you finish it, it's even better, and I can finish things with RuneScape, you know? And I've had to kind of stop, and I guess that got me to the point of why I made this video in the first place, is because it was kind of time for me to stop. But life kind of didn't have its spice. I wasn't done. I continue things I do, and as stupid as it is, and as much as I tell myself it's just a game, it's just a game, I don't know what it is, but something's calling me. It's like, I can't just not get the 50th Vorkath kill. I can't just go to my friends before I get a certain amount of kills, or crops picked, or something looked at, you know, in the game, or throwing a miscellanea 100%, just because I know something's building, and it's kind of like passive income. And then it's like, can I fuse that? I play too much. Even my friends like, well, you play it if you want to play it. You know, you play that much, you might as well stream it. There's something about a performative task of streaming that maybe now after talking for the first time I can get used to. Or, you know, if something people want that, or if this does anything. For me, you know, this is more just like a journal, and maybe I can get comfortable speaking alone to a mic. You know, afraid someone's going to walk in when I used to make music and stuff, you know, and how it just regressed. But, you know, I just don't want to bother people. And I understand how things sound before they're edited, right? So there's an embarrassment factor, even though me myself, and I know other people love the voyeuristic factor of looking at someone and listening when they don't know you're there, or like they want to, you know, even if it's harmless as like unintentional eavesdropping. You know, there's levels to that. I'm a film major, so I am a believer in the theory of the lens is essentially the microcosm of the voyeuristic nature of man, and maybe I should put that in an essay. And that's when it was a little easier, just BS writing film papers in college with a little za. Now, but you know, sober, it's like, oh, responsibilities, all this, no fun. It's like, let me just try it. Let me make some videos. I love watching. I've always loved making videos, but I've just never done it with the video games, right? Because video games is about escape, and when you escape, can't really do that if you're trying to make it into reality, right, with the videos and the editing and the work, and all of a sudden this thing avoiding work becomes work, and then it's just work after work, and you're not getting paid. But I have to, you know, find a balance. And I think, you know, I'm just been recording for 7 minutes ago, 7.5 minutes ago. It's already been 15 minutes, so I'll probably wrap it up before I do a Zola grind and just see what's up, and, you know, kind of get it back to editing some videos, see what's up, and see what happens, and maybe see what you guys think. I'll be careful with the comments if anyone watches or not. At least, you know, I think at the end of the day, I was telling myself, whatever happens, don't find yourself at the end of the night saying that, I didn't do it, I just put one thing after another. You know, yeah, I'm back at my parents' house. You know, mom got home early, so I felt awkward. I had to accidentally stop recording, you know, as I'm making food, listening to a cool beat, you know, dreaming of making music again, or, you know, pitching some ideas for film. because you know, my issue is I just go all in, and I can't really BS. And for some reason, this game has just grasped me all in. And I remember with Dagonoths, there's something about proving to myself I could get this before certain things would be better, and I knew long term, you know, how much better XP this would be, and it's fun, and then that meaning, and then the cheese factor, that the game and the mechanics and what's not fixed is not a bug, but, you know, mechanic, and then using from safe spotting to being able to AFK once you're in the safe spot to play another game or do work, and then stack, and then all of a sudden 100 kills goes by, and you get the ring drop, then you realize, oh, you gotta do it for the other 2, but then you can't safe spot as much, and you have to learn a little bit more and get better, and then flicking, and then all of a sudden you're doing 2 in one go, and then you're doing all 3, and then before you know it, you have 2 drops, and then you're just AFK camping again, the harder one, and then after like 200, 300, 400 kills, you get all 3 drops, you're hunting the dragon axe, and the Dagonoth run, you're running, each run is maybe 10 minutes of running to get a good reset with food, and if it doesn't go well, it's a short run, but then the reward, right, is if you get it, you're in there for so long, for an endless amount, right, and you can just get so many rewards, and then the fact that things you're doing weren't intended, it kind of feels naughty or good, but it is intended, so you're getting rewarded for skill, and that's just one example of the many things that I wanted to talk about mechanically in this game. But you know, I just figured it was time. You know, I had recording stuff from music. I paused there because I know I have a tendency with rambling or getting out. I'm good at getting in things, ironically, besides this, which makes me nervous, so I can dive into that at one point. But yeah, I think I'll wrap it here for the first one. And I have the video stuff for gaming and my passions with school, so why not make a video I watch all day every day as I play anyway. Alright, till the next one.